The Breakfast Flakes podcast brought to you by the Blue Cat Bar and Grill, next to the Roadside Event Center in Huntley. The Blue Cat, it's where it's at.
Folks, that is a farmer pick hit. Want to do something nice for Paul because he's having a rough morning. First of all, the snow, which we hope doesn't pile up out by the cows. Secondly, we had a major meeting yesterday about our brand new printer, which ran out of ink in 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And when we complained to management and upper management, they said, well, you're using too much paper. And also, Paul, this is not a reflection of you because you're a good guy and you try to do the right thing. I just learned this morning. When you're dating somebody, it's not official until you go on Instagram and make it Instagram official. Yesterday, Sofia Vergara.
Oh, no.
Goes Instagram official.
I can handle the printer. But
hey, buddy, put your head on my shoulder.
Sophia, what?
If you ever get a major knee surgery, make sure you get a handsome doctor who will sleep with you that night.
You talk about tearing my heart out.
Worst day of my year.
Oh, my gosh. Well,
she'll be back.
It. Yeah.
You know, Sheryl Crow ran around a little bit on me.
She did.
She's coming back to Montana.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she did. Wow. Mm-hmm. Well, we had a little skiff of snow last night out at the ranch, but when I left this morning, it was nothing. Road was pretty dry, but you get about 8 miles north of Billings, and then that's where it picked up. And I see most of it is here south anyway.
Right.
Red Lodge getting a bunch of snow up there. I'm sure you folks in Roberts, places like that. Red Lodge is 5,500 plus, so they're getting snow up there, but and we're at about 33-ish, 34-ish right now, so it can't make up its mind. So
well, and it's not going to last much longer here. Hey, speaking of Sheryl Crow, her and Pink are playing Washington Grizzly Stadium in August.
August 28th. What time, Mark?
I don't know that.
No,
actually.
you...
Grizzly football fans, Grizz Nation, if you have a Twitter or an X account, go vote for Washington Grizzly Stadium in the best FCS stadium contest. Montana's in the Final Four and currently losing to Jackson State.
God.
Okay, you need to get a life.
Yes.
It's a great place to see a football game. They can both be great places to see football games, actually. If you have any social media or a phone, you have seen pictures or videos of the elephant got loose in the Butte area yesterday.
Yeah, what happened there? Was that a circus animal or something?
Yeah, I talked about it because that circus is coming to Billings, and they've still got elephants. And right away, our guy Josh got on it because wrote a story on the Cat Country Facebook page because PETA, of course, is not happy with this. And supposedly this circus has had 100 violations and making the elephant perform when she was sick and was startled by some kind of loud noise. Now, I've walked dogs that really wanted to go. And you just yank on the leash. I don't know what you do when you're trying to get an elephant to stop. Whoa, horse! I said whoa.
Remember last Wednesday when we had lame fourth grade joke day?
Yeah.
What do you do when an elephant has diarrhea, Mark?
I don't know.
Give them plenty of room. Fourth grade joke, folks.
I like it.
She's in her late 40s. And she was walking towards Montana Lil's casino. Mm-hmm. Probably heard the machines were hot.
That's right. Saw the sign.
Yeah. Poor elephant. I feel sorry for elephants like that.
Yeah, that's not a great life.
No, they're such majestic animals, and they're better than humans. The way they nurture their young, they just are. And people poach them for their tusks and leave them to rot, and it's awful. And they're smart.
They're
smart animals.
Paul and I got to ride elephants at the shrine one year. Just go in a little circle, and every time somebody set a pop down somewhere, the elephant give it a little sniff while we were going in circles.
They're, I still remember the story when I lived back east. Now, the rancher from Power doesn't think I belong here because, Mark, I was born in Cincinnati, and I stayed there till I was 18, till I moved out west. But in my youth, they used to bring the animals in by train, and I remember the story of the circus animals coming to town, and the elephants in particular, and they brought the train up, and then they would put a wood dock ramp down against the train car and let the elephants walk out. Right. And the elephants, the older, wiser elephants would put their foot down on the ramp and they wouldn't exit the car. So they had to build a solid ramp up against to where the train would go up against it that was solid, made out of dirt and cement and stuff like that. So it was solid and not hollow under the wood planks and things that they had up there for the animal to walk down, because the elephant knew it wasn't solid, it wasn't secure, and they couldn't get the elephants out of the train cars. They were just smart. And I'm sure the elephant would rather be somewhere else. I know they take care of them, they groom them, they feed them, they have vets watch them and stuff like that. But if you're an elephant, where would you rather be? Butte? Hell, I don't want to go to Butte.
Write an article about it.
I should. Because, and I understand somewhat where Pete is coming from. I'm not a bleeding heart, but, that animal's out of its natural habitat, and they parade him around, and that animal doesn't want to be there. Probably he'd rather be in Asia or Africa. I don't know what kind of elephant it is, but they're draws, and they make money from them.
Yeah.
And just like at the fair, remember they used to have all the weird humans at the fair. The guy with 3 arms, come in and see the guy with a eye in the middle of his forehead. They always used to do that, and they don't do that. They don't exploit people's deformities now for money like they used to. Remember that?
It was just fine back in the 70s.
I remember I went in there and would look at them and stuff and go, oh my God, because you wouldn't believe it was true, but it was true. But as you get older, you get more sympathy for stuff like this. Animals, for me especially, I've written before about this, about animals and stuff. And you lose a calf, it breaks your heart. And just like my dog, I'm not going to put my dogs down. They can die on the couch.
Yeah.
Because I know if I would ask them, they'd rather die on the couch, even if they were in pain or suffering, than be in a cold building with fluorescent lights and have a guy give you an injection and there you go. So fortunately, I've never, with all the dogs I've never had to put a dog down. Well, I put a dog down.
Right.
But, take it to the vet and stuff like that. But, and it's funny because there's an article in the paper today about doing the very same things with humans. 12 states considering now end-of-life legislation. And that's one of those ethical, moral questions that everybody has to deal with. And one of the main excuses or one of the main arguments for it is we show compassion and sympathy and love for our animals, but we don't for humans. And
hey, as I watched my brother fade because of cancer, he should have been able to try any drug that he wanted to try and choose end of life if that's what he wanted.
Well, and Donald Trump signed that into legislation, the right to try bill. Remember, he signed that. People who have ALS, stuff like that. May not save you, but it would benefit the rest of humanity by doing it. But I've watched a lot of people suffer over their lifetime, and it's not good. My grandma was in a nursing home for 13 years, curled up in a fetal position. Arthritis had overtaken her body so much. Her hands were together so tightly, you couldn't put a pin or a pen in between her hands. They were just knotted up, couldn't feed herself, slept in urine all day long.
Yeah.
Had no idea from one day to the next who she was or where she was at the last 5 years of things like that. And and if it's done legally and people put it in their will, you have the right to not, I've got that in mind, don't resuscitate.
Well, Paul, if we can find all the pieces.
Well, I know that. The fire and the explosion is going to be quite the scene.
Well, that sure would be pretty at night.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But 12 states are considering it. Illinois is one of them, one of the 12 states. Trying to find the other states here. Okay. 12 states currently have bills that would legalize physician-assisted death. 8 states and Washington, D.C. already allow it. I didn't know that. But only for their own residents. Vermont and Oregon permit any qualifying American to travel to their state for that practice. You have to be at least 18 and within 6 months of death and be assessed to ensure they're capable of making that informed decision. 2 states have gone in opposite directions. Kansas, they got a bill that will criminalize anybody that helps. Remember Jack Kevorkian, of course. He was the big controversial guy. And West Virginia asking voters to enshrine their current ban in their state constitution. I asked Governor Gianforte Shorty about that one time, and he said he supports life and would not support that. One guy spoke to the committee about it, said he woke up one night. His wife, she was just crawling on the floor screaming. The pain from her cancer and other ailments was able to punch through the heavy morphine doses that she was on and not doing her any good anymore. And she was just screaming, "Let me die. Why won't they let me die?" So are we sympathetic to these people? Are we compassionate? That's a question that I think every individual and every family should be able to make on their own.
Mm-hmm. And one of the many great reasons to get your will done.
That's right. So they traveled to Oregon. Roadblocks, of course, would have to be in place so people can't take advantage of it. Because you have folks in this world we live in, you have bastards out there that will take advantage of any situation or manipulate who they're with for money, for dollars, for gain, for anything like that. Yeah. If they know about your will, if you had some inheritance coming, if there was, people would talk their elderly into it because there are those kind of people. Mm-hmm. There just are. And then you have lobbying efforts from other people who will fight this legislation, because you know how many billions of dollars are made on the last year of life care for people in this country? Mm-hmm. It would surprise you. It would shock you if we really knew the number. They use all the good stuff to keep your heart ticking, especially if you're not on a state aid program and they're getting the cash right out of your account.
That's right.
Like my mom, $10,000 a month, something like that for, health care and paying the place she's in. And they just take it and take it and take it until they get everything. Your house is sold. They've got all that. And then you go on the state aid program, and then you're back to Tylenol.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
It's sad. That's why it was so great back in the 30s and 40s. Guys like me, we worked so damn hard, hell, we were dead by 40. There was no long-term care back then. People stayed with their parents, and almost everybody died at home. There were no nursing homes and stuff like that. We didn't farm that out. We didn't farm those people out. It's the same thing with daycares. There were no daycares back in the 40s and 50s. None. Zero. We didn't farm. People didn't farm their children out. Their own children. I want somebody else to raise my child and rear my child and educate them. I want them to do that so I can continue with my career or I can work. They didn't do that.
No.
We do it now. And look at the problems we have. Look at the problems we have.
Just had one in the paper here yesterday.
Exactly. We got kids that feel alone. We got kids that don't have a good relationship with their parent. We have kids that don't do well in school now. They don't have the moral guidance. They don't have righteousness. They don't know right or wrong. Look how unhealthy it is. Look at the sickness problem we have among kids. It passes like wildfire in daycare centers, child centers, all those kind of things. But we never had that. Mm-mm. We never had that. We never had nursing homes where we dumped our elderly, or a mom and dad. I'm too busy to take care of you. I'm putting you in a facility. It's just like a zoo animal. And we do the same thing with our children. Mm-hmm. Well, I got a lot of stuff I'd like to do. Well, then get a box of rubbers.
It's true. It's true. People never look at that part, though.
The commitment and the dedication and the sacrifice that have to be made for raising a child is second to none. People have to realize that. Once you've made that commitment, once you've screamed, "Oh God," 17 times, and that child is on the way, that's where it should change. But it doesn't anymore in this country. For some, it does. Makes a big difference. Dedicate their whole life and passion and sacrifice for their kids till they get them out and going. And some don't. And they can tell the difference. Teachers can tell the difference. Coaches can tell the difference. Doctors can tell the difference. Mm-hmm. Employers can tell the difference. It's like night and day. Like night and day. We read that survey not too long ago. And I can't remember the whole idea behind it, but it was something about people's commitment and dedication to their pets versus commitment and dedication to their children. Remember that? We talked about it. And the pets was higher than the children. Mm-hmm. But it's the way we are now. So the issue of ending life at the end when there's no hope, no chance, nothing, you're rotting is, especially now, is being taken up by all these states. Goes on to say it comes down to the right of the individual to control their own end-of-life decision, free from government intervention. That's big, folks. That's big right there. Free from government intervention or even religious interference. You know, there's no matter what, you don't take life in some religions. And that's a whole other discussion, too, about faith, because faith is different now than it was 50 years ago. When people join churches now, they join churches and it's righteous and they believe in their faith. But they only want to follow part of the rules that the church has. And so then that's not faith.
Right.
Well, I like everything up to this point. That no meat on Friday thing. Oh, God, we were at Buffalo Wild Wings, or something like that. Stuff like that.
Mother's Day is coming up, so treat her to a delicious meal at the Blue Cat Bar and Grill. They also have a special pop-up market on Saturday, May 4th from 11 to 5 with perfect gifts for mom. Test your Taylor Swift knowledge at Trivia Night on Thursday, May 9th. It's 80s and 90s sitcom trivia. Monday, May 13th. And don't forget their amazing mouth-watering steaks. Now serving prime rib every Saturday. The Blue Cat Bar and Grill in Huntley, just 9 minutes east of the Metra exit.
Even though assisted death is still illegal in most all states, a poll back in 2018 showed that 2/3 of Americans support it. There's been about 8,700 people who have used it since Oregon became the first state to legalize it, and they did it back in 1997. An organization called Compassion and Choices, they sued, actually, Oregon, Vermont, because Oregon and Vermont had residency requirements, and they didn't like that. They got some safeguards in place. Typically, 2 different doctors must confirm the patient has 6 months or less to go. A patient must verbally request it twice with a waiting period that varies from state to state. Submit a written request with witnesses. A patient could also be referred to a psychologist for an assessment if there are some concerns. The patients have to take the medications themselves. They lose consciousness within a few minutes, and then they die within a few hours. Here's one guy flew to Oregon to meet with his father. His father decided it was time, said their goodbyes. He drank his medicine, and then they played Toes by Zac Brown Band. Oh my gosh.
You get to pick your own song.
Oh my God. What's that Steely Dan music coming out of the hallway? But that's a tough one. That's a tough issue. Like Ben Franklin, only 2 things we know for sure. We know the taxes. We know that.
That's right.
Which is like death at this current point for most of us. That's why I want to watch that. I want to watch that miniseries that Michael Douglas is in as he stars as Ben Franklin when he was in France trying to get help while we were involved in the Revolutionary War against the British. And he went over there, worked. It took him years while we were fighting to convince him. Years. He thought he was going to get hanged. He just thought they were going to hang him. And they could have. But I want to see that. What else do we got going on today? As Mark mentioned, folks, we got no printer. See, the problem is we went out and we got one of these very expensive world-named printers called a Brother. It's called a Brother, Mark.
I know.
And what they do is when you buy the printer, they give you a cartridge in there that doesn't have hardly any ink in it.
Exactly.
It comes with the printer. If you want the good cartridges, you have to buy the Brother cartridge. Well, we didn't buy any. And so we've had this for about 2 weeks, and now it doesn't want to print because we don't have any ink.
Why you wouldn't have the same printer in every spot in a business is beyond me.
I know it. So we have this one and had no cartridges, so we're out. We don't have a cartridge for a Brother. So if you folks could help a brother out and maybe have a cartridge, we're good for it. I mean, hell, but we can't print anything. We can't. And so they send in a ticket and got a request in from corporate to buy a cartridge.
Usual line of crap we get. Well, from the paper, the agenda for the April Billings Public School Board meeting was overshadowed Monday night by a throng of angry residents stating they would not vote for the safety levies due to the current school library book policies.
I see that, and that's just one of the many reasons
Yeah.
why they're not going to vote for it.
Others read passages aloud, many images and dialogue depicting LGBTQ, rape, and incest in libraries in our schools. And one gentleman, you want to talk about child safety? Get this smut and pouring out of our schools. And our tax dollars are paying for this, and you've got the balls to ask us for more money for this crap for public safety?
Yes, they do. We've talked about it over the last 37 years, folks. The liberal influence and radical left influence into education is molding the generation of the future where there's only two things that matter, gender and climate, and we are last in the world at proficiency in math, reading, and science. I'm just glad people stand up.
Yeah.
People were standing up and saying things to that school board at the meeting, like I say on the air all the time.
That's right.
I'm not held back by any respect for people that think their britches are on different than the rest of ours. They're all humans, folks, and they're in a position they have to hear it. And where this gentleman didn't understand or realize is that the school board during these open comment sessions will not have any open discussions whatsoever.
Mother's Day is coming up, so treat her to a delicious meal at the Blue Cat Bar and Grill. They also have a special pop-up market on Saturday, May 4th from 11 to 5 with perfect gifts for mom. Test your Taylor Swift knowledge at Trivia Night on Thursday, May 9th. It's 80s and 90s sitcom trivia. Monday, May 13th. And don't forget their amazing mouth-watering steaks. Now serving prime rib every Saturday. The Blue Cat Bar and Grill in Huntley, just 9 minutes east of the Metra exit.
Even if you get on the agenda, they will not. They'll listen to it, and that's it. That's how they've made the rules, which is totally wrong. Who came up with that rule anyway? I want to know that. The State Board of Education in Montana. Who came up with that rule? There is no interaction between board members and taxpayers who are funding everything.
Right.
Nope, because we don't want it to get out of hand. Well, that's what meetings are for.
Supposed to be.
They do it in Congress.
Yeah.
We're not going to tolerate any threats, but we're happy to hear you speak. And that's exactly right. They'll hear you speak, and that's it. Here's a guy who says, I thank you for your ongoing commitment to intellectual freedom and holding the line against book bans and censorship. Oh, yeah? How many Bibles do we have? How many Bibles do we have in our classrooms, huh? Copies of the Constitution, those kind of things. How many of those do we have? I remember I raised hell. Mark can vouch for this. I wrote a letter to the governor about a lesson that 5th grade girls were learning at my kid's school, and they were talking about orgasms. Yeah. And I had a parent call me, and I said, what? I didn't know about it, and I found out about it, and I wrote the governor, Brian Schweitzer. I wrote him a letter about it, told him about it, got a thing back from the education person up there, all kinds of stuff. Was it appropriate for people who were 10? How many books do they have in our libraries around our schools that promote conservatism, capitalism, Christianity? How many? Versus the other stuff about gender, sex, climate, all those kind of things. One woman said she didn't feel that we should be spending taxpayer dollars on this type of content. We should be spending our money on materials that will lead to academic improvement. Amen, Elaine.
Hear, hear.
It's what we've been saying for so long. Do we want to bring back cursive writing or teach them how to curse in these books? Karen Moses was there. Oh, no kidding. No kid. The only woman that fought against Emily Pennington having the right to graduate because she was 3 weeks too old. Her and her husband have done more damage.
Yes, they have.
She concluded the public comment session. Isn't that funny? Folks, now this pisses me off.
As it should.
During the Emily Pennington hearing and public hearing they had where they let Karen Moses, now keep in mind, they told me this is all random.
That's right.
How they picked these people to speak. Guess who spoke last at the Emily Pennington hearing? Karen Moses. God, what a freaking coincidence that was, huh? All right, so last night they have the library thing. Guess who concluded the public comment session last night? Again, Mark, just a coinky-dink, randomly selected. Guess who it was? Karen Moses.
That was lucky.
You people are sick. This safety levy is not about the books in our library. Continue to have the debate about books and free speech. It'll go on forever in the world. But do not, if you care about safety of our kids in this levy, threaten it. Those of you who hold up Protect Our Children signs, I hope you'll turn your ballots in and support what this levy is about. And then, once again, here you go, folks. You wonder why people get so damn frustrated? Mm-hmm. They want to go in and they want to have a discussion, a back and forth.
Right.
This is how they do it in courtrooms. This is how they do it in Congress. You do it with your doctor. Right. The doctor just doesn't listen. This is done everywhere. Board meetings,
right.
Meetings at your work, everywhere except schools. At the very end. I just want to remind everybody that we as a board are up here to listen to the comment. We're here to be respectful, and we're here to listen to other people. If we don't have respect going both ways from everybody in this room, the Montana Code allows us as a board to remove and close this meeting. We'll listen to everybody respectfully. That's it. That's what they do. That's all they do. No discussion, nothing. This is an awful way to conduct a meeting.
Right. Especially when you are working for me.
Remember Hoosiers when they had the meeting there in the church?
Yeah.
People were able to talk. Nope, not at our school board meetings, folks. Well, it would just get out of hand and blah, blah, blah. Well, hell, then don't take the job because that's what it is. You're supposed to answer to the public. Karen Moses. Wow. That woman should buy a lottery ticket because that's 2 public hearings now that I know of where she just happened to be selected. You know, they draw out of a hat or something. Just happened to be the very last person to make a point in the meeting.
Well, somebody's got to get that Montana Code changed.
Absolutely.
We got to be able to have conversations about stuff.
Yeah.
I like your point right there. You don't just go to the doctor, he listens, and then you get a letter that says,
we've decided to do this to your body.
That's right. That doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't happen in Congress. All the congressmen talk. They go back and forth with each other at the hearings.
Right.
You know, they got a guy sitting down there at the table. They go back and forth with the board members and the committee members. Nope, not in schools. No. And by the way, Karen, when people think about safety from their kids, they're trying to figure out why $5 million of money that was supposed to provide a safe, health-free environment was spent on administrative bonuses.
Never got answered.
Never got answered. Never. And with your safety levy, you got 24 new employees in there, and only 4 of them are resource officers that are in charge of safety and protecting the schools. Only 15% of the total safety money goes for structural improvements for safety. Better alarm systems, locks. That's it. The other 85%, employees.
Right.
Special counselors, mental health experts, new curriculum, which we don't know what's in the curriculum. That kind of thing. So discuss that with patrons then. God, that woman.
Well, that woman and that whole setup. That's why it's important to vote.
Yep.
When you get a chance to vote for your school board members.
There's 3 of them. 3 of them up for election. But no discussions. Just a listening. They're not discussion. They're just listening sessions. And they just sit there and they just listen. And then, great. Thanks for coming. Hey, hope you all had a good time. And then, of course, one of their own gets to leave the final impact statement on everyone. That smells.
Yes, it does.
That's just dirty pool. You know, and you wonder why people think the system's rigged. Just like the 3 last people at the Emily Pennington thing would have been me, but I left because I had to be to work in 4 hours.
Right.
Aaron, and then Karen Moses.
Shocking.
But you know what they did? They put everybody in, and then they would just draw people out. There was no specific order. I bet. And I'll be to your house next year dropping off the eggs in the basket over Easter. Wilson. Ballots go out today.
Yes, they do.
17th go out today. You know why, folks? You know why ballots go out today? Same thing with our national elections now and everything else. You know why? Because we have an election season now. We have election season. We don't have an election day. See, when we had election days, we never had problems, did we?
No.
We never had a problem on election day. It worked for 225 years. We had an election day. But now we don't have election day anymore. It's too hard to mess that up. Too hard to manipulate things, change things, make it easier for one group or the other. We don't do it like that anymore. We don't have election day. We have election season, just like right now. We're starting election season today just for for the school stuff.
Right.
And the ballots don't have to be until May. It's the 17th of April. It'll be the same thing with the national election and the election for our senators and representatives and everything. We got an election season. Those ballots will go out, God, I don't know, end of September, first off. And you get a month and a half. We have a month and a half of election season.
You're right.
And you wonder why we have trouble instead of election day. I got to get the name of that doctor we were talking about earlier. I think I'm going to need him, Mark, before the end of the year.
Okay. Weird Wednesday after 7. First news coming up, 6:10.
The Breakfast Flakes podcast brought to you by the Blue Cat Bar and Grill, next to the Roadside Events Center in Huntley. The Blue Cat, it's where it's at.